Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey guys. All right. So, really the point behind this call was twofold. Number one, I wanted to force Marilyn out of her comfort zone. So that's why I got her on here. Also, I think she has a really great story and kind of just something that speaks to our testament of, thinking long term and kind of just like being the coach that you would want. Because she was a customer of mine for what, like a year and a half before
Mm-hmm.
she became a coach. And so it was just kind of like a cool situation. And I just kind of wanted her to have an opportunity to talk about how it felt being the customer and then turning into the coach and just like how you can bring that in. And then I'm kind of just going to ramble at the beginning about a few things I've learned along the way about how, to kind of create this long-term success, which really aside from, how you build up your business and, things like that, you're doing your daily power hour, really what it comes down to is how you treat your customers. Because you only get one shot. If you treat them like shit once, they're going to remember that and never come back. And, I mean, I've never worked in any job aside from a restaurant besides this. And that was only one thing we heard was, you get one shot. And then if you make them upset, they tell everybody. And I don't know if it's the exact same way with this, but I would assume so because people love to complain more than they love to praise.
Mm-hmm.
So really that's kind of just what I'm going to talk about is like how I try to go about doing that and also just other little things that popped up in my head. So excuse me. The first thing I wrote down is being consistent is the only way to ensure your success. Quitting is the only way to guarantee failure. So I've posted 100 times, I know, at least in my team page. I know I've posted team wins long and process. There's this like post that Stephanie Chico had put up in a training group from when I first started as a coach that always resonated with me, so much so that I copy and pasted it and saved it. Because that's what she talks about is the only way to guarantee that you're going to fail is by quitting, because you don't know when your momentum is going to shift and you're going to go from struggling to you got it. It could be a month into coaching. It could be a year. It could be 10 years. So the only way you're going to guarantee that failure is to quit. So part of the way I think doing that, and kind of going about it is really just building a foundation of trust. So I'm not a huge people person. Anybody who knows me like really personally, like one-on-one knows like I'm not that guy. I'm not the one in the middle of the room who wants all the attention. I don't want to be everybody's friend. It's a lot of pressure. I just don't do very well. So when I think about my business and how I run it, I think about the type of people that I am attracted to and the type of people who I do want to be friends with. And it's always the people who I can see are trustworthy. And it's really hard to be seen as trustworthy, especially when you're on the internet, because there's a lot of doubt in people. So I think what you really have to accept from the beginning is that you have to run your business with integrity no matter what. Yes, we all want to make money and we all want to hit Success Club and we all want to, hit volume goals, rank goals, whatever it is. But if those things are driving your business, your customers will see that, whether you mean for them to or not. It kind of just seeps through your pores and it's like little specks of it here and there in your posts, and that desperation kind of just like floods in without you even noticing it. So it's really, really important to always work and think, how can I work my business and make it about them and not about me? And when you start thinking about it that way is when you can really start building up trust, because that's when people start letting their walls down. I've always tried to be transparent about the process, and I try to make sure my coaches do the same. Like making sure, for instance, whenever I'm explaining the club membership and how that works to people, I don't leave things out. Price is always the big elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about price, but they need to know. I know when I first got started with Beachbody, $130 charge for Shakeology would have ruined me. Like I did not have $130 in the bank to just like spend on Shakeology. I know how pissed off I would have been if somebody didn't warn me about that first. Yes, Beachbody puts on there at checkout, are you're signing up for this, make sure you check the box. But let's just be honest, who really reads those things? I don't. I always just click it and go because I just want to order. So it's not that difficult to put little reminders in your phone to, remind them about Shakeology or remind them about any HD orders, and also just be really upfront about it from the beginning. I always explain that it's going to be on auto ship, but they can cancel it at any time. I'll set a reminder to remind them, whatever. And I think whenever you bring that up at the beginning and you really just make that part of the process, it makes them trust you a lot more because they don't feel like you're trying to hide something. I've had coaches who are like, well, my customer got to the checkout screen and they saw that they were going to be billed monthly and backed out. And I was like, well, why didn't you talk about that beforehand? You know that that's part of the process of buying a challenge pack. Why wouldn't you discuss that? Don't leave that for the end. So any way that you can really find to be transparent. And also that applies to just how you present yourself on social media, which I think this is probably the biggest area that hinders coaches' success and really holds them back, is that they're afraid to let people see who they are. And I get it, because the world is a scary place. People are mean. And it's hard to really open up and put yourself out there. But there's a way to open up and put yourself out there without making yourself super vulnerable to the point where anybody could hurt you. Sharing your story isn't the same as allowing people that hold over you, or whatever you want to call it. I can't think of the exact term right now, but the more transparent you are, the more people will trust you. And I try to tell my coaches that. I'm like, think about what drew you to me or to whomever your coach is, and why did you trust them? Because we're all selling the same damn product. So why me? What was it that you trusted with me, or, what was it? And then think about how you can take that and put it into play in your business. These are so out of order. I'm so sorry. The fortune is in the follow-up, so you have to follow up. So this goes back to setting alarms in your phone. You can do it any way you want. It doesn't matter. But always, always, always follow up, and not just whenever they order. So what I do, my process is, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, and then they say, yeah, I'm going to order, and then they don't, I don't freak out or get upset. I'll just message them in a couple of days and be like, hey, I'm so excited for you, blah, blah, blah. I just want to make sure you put your order in because I'm not seeing it in my back office. If you ran into any errors or problems, just let me know. We can figure it out. And if not, fine. I don't push it, but I always follow up. If they order, then I'll follow up again and say, I saw that your thing tracked or your thing shipped today. Sometimes I won't say that. It kind of just depends on who it is. But always check in with them after they get their product. I mean, ideally they'll be in a challenge group, but they should still be getting a message from you once they've received their product. And also just about a week into them using it, because that's about the time people will fall off. They'll try it for a couple of days. They'll be really excited. And then the weekend hits and they're like, so it's usually Saturday morning, I'm sending out messages, or Sunday. And I'm like, hey, where are you? How's it going? How was the first week? Fill me in, really excited, pump them up. You cannot follow up enough. Well, that's not true. You can be really annoying if you wanted to, but I don't mean it in that sense. I just mean it and I think when you follow up with people, it kind of creates that trust again in another form, because they're like, oh, great, she does care. She didn't just sell me a product, stick me in a group and never speak to me again, and say that it's my responsibility to post in the group if I want the motivation and the accountability. And that's not really right to tell people. It's sure, that it kind of is their responsibility, but it's also ours to make sure that they're getting use of the product. And I know whenever I explain what coaches do, my explanation to people is literally, I'm a liaison between the company and the customer. I'm here to hold people accountable to the products that they purchase so that they're not wasting their money. I'm here to help them, to support them, whatever. So I need to make sure that I'm fulfilling that. And it really does make people feel like you care. And that makes all the difference. Forming your customers before you cold message them. So I actually hate cold messaging. I don't do it very often. Actually, I could probably count on two hands the number of times I've cold messaged people, just because it's something that feels really gross to me. I wouldn't do it in normal life. I don't like when people do it to me. Some people are really great at it. I'm not one of them. But either way, I think you definitely need to form your customers. And if you don't know what form means, that's when you speak to them and get to know them, about them before. So you'll talk to them about their family, their occupation, things that they do for fun, things like that. And really, you can't have a conversation with someone if you don't know those things already. Otherwise, you're just talking from a selfish standpoint. You're just talking to them about what you want them to do. If you don't know those things about them, how can you say, well, I know how this would benefit your family? If you can't, if you don't know. All you can say is, I think you'd be great at this. And it's like, but you don't have any reason to think I'd be great at this. You don't know anything about me. Being relatable when you respond. I feel like that's common sense, but maybe it's not, so I threw it in there. But whenever you're talking to people, I actually think it's better to not talk about yourself. I try not to talk about myself very much whenever I'm speaking and, you know, having these conversations, because I tend to find that people don't really care about you so much. They want to talk about them and their problems and what they're looking for. So when I say be relatable, the most I'll do is I'll be like, oh, I totally understand, you know, how crazy it is when you have kids and you're trying to manage all this, blah, 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 blah. You know, tell me more about this. Like, be relatable, but it's not about you. And that's so hard sometimes because we're all kind of programmed to just like talk about ourselves. But you have to ask questions. You have to be relatable. You have to let them see that you're a real person and that you do get it. I think the scripts that we have in our back, or not in our back office, in the files section are so great, but they're also kind of deadly because I think people get so accustomed to using them and just copying and pasting and word for word, and they don't really personalize it enough. And that can kind of be detrimental because people start to catch on. Like, I know at one point I was doing that and I made the huge mistake of copying and pasting and sending something to someone that made it very obvious that it wasn't meant for them. Like, I forget what I put in there exactly, but I said something about like their husband and I like put his name and it was the totally wrong person because I copied and pasted it and didn't edit it before I sent it. So, you know, and that was just kind of like my wake up call. I was like, oh, now I look like a jackass. And I probably should because I shouldn't be doing that anyway. So just be careful with that. Don't do it. I wrote down, don't take anything personal. It's not about you. It's about them. So this is something that actually frustrates me a lot. And it comes from a point of view where I don't see why people need to be as self-centered as we are. I think it's a huge problem in our society is that everything revolves around us. Like, we want it. We're doing this for us and blah, 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 and whatever. I actually hate that. I think that it's not all about us. It should be about other people. You know, if this is our job, it's about other people. So I've had coaches who come up to me like mad that somebody bought a program from somebody else or they ordered it off Amazon or whatever. And I just have to be like, what makes you feel entitled to their purchase? Clearly, they don't feel like you were. They didn't feel like they owed it to you. So you did something wrong. You need to think about what you did wrong and how you can fix it for next time. Sometimes you don't do anything wrong. Sometimes people just don't trust you, you know, or they just feel like they're getting a better deal. But again, you can work on changing that and changing their perception of that by just being more transparent and really working on building up the friendship or the relationship and the trust and just kind of being, you know, that solid ground for them. But no matter what, you should never take what somebody else does personally because they're thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about you. So, you know, just it's too much negative energy. I just don't, I hate it. I hate when people get mad about that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I really dislike that I hear a lot, especially in new coaches, is when they say that they're trying to get people. And I went on a rant one time about this in a phone call or in a training. So I'm going to try not to do the same. We're not trying to get anyone. Our job is not to try to convince them that this is what they should do. Our job is to try to inspire them to want to join us. You know, maybe you guys have heard that old saying, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink. If you force somebody into buying a product, that doesn't mean they're going to use it. And they're going to then harbor negative feelings towards you, you know, and it's just not a good idea. Your job is to help them get the product, get results, really get their money's worth and move on, you know, like to whatever's next, whether it's coaching, whether it's not, whether it's another program. If you're focusing on trying to get people or trying to convince them that this is what they should do, or, if you think it's a race, then you're not spending enough time focusing on them. And that's just not long-term. That's not going to work. What did I put down? No doesn't mean no. It means not right now. I know you guys have probably heard that 1,000 times, and it's so true. Marilyn is a testament to that. She shot me down so hard the first time I talked to her about coaching, and then here she is. And that's fine. And I'm not saying that you should be like, oh, well, I'm going to get you eventually. It's okay. You're not ready now. That's fine. I respect that. I'm not going to push you about it. I'm not going to, not talk to you or have an attitude towards you. I'm just going to keep doing me, and hopefully something along the way will click for you. Also, don't be afraid to try new things. If you have a good idea, go for it. If it doesn't work, at least you tried and learned. If it does, jackpot. So this is something that I think, especially when you're in this business for a long time, is so, so, so important. Things get stagnant and stale really quickly. I mean, look at our challenge groups. Like, I'm so over challenge groups at this point, at just over 2 years in. I'm like, oh my God, if I have to do another intro post, I'm going to shoot myself. But you have to try to constantly keep things creative. Laura and I try to run different groups that are exciting. We've done the personal development groups, we've done the yoga groups, we've done the cooking groups. Anything like that, don't ever be afraid to try it. You're probably going to fall on your face and fail a few times. That's fine. Whatever. Take it as a lesson, move on, whatever. But you have to keep it creative and exciting for yourself and also for your customers. I know most of my customers who were with me 2 years ago, I have a really hard time getting them motivated now because I'm doing a lot of the same things. So I have to constantly be challenging myself to come up with new ideas and try them. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Like this Brazil butt lift group that's starting tomorrow. I have no freaking clue if it's going to work. There's 30 people in there. It could either be amazing or it could be dead, but I have to try. I'm just going to read this. I wrote, have faith in yourself. If you're working from a place of integrity, then have faith that this is the way the story is supposed to play out for you. Perhaps it's happening this way because it's meant to teach you to be better, or maybe to put pressure to get you out of your comfort zone, or maybe to show you that you can. So I find that a lot of times this comes down to the idea of instant gratification. So we want things to happen right away, that we don't have faith in the process or in ourselves. And we say, this isn't working. I'm not doing it right. I'm not good enough. And that's really not the truth. Really, it's just that maybe it's not working because you haven't challenged yourself enough, or because you haven't truly believed that you could. So you have to kind of just go for it and see what happens. I'm almost done here. I'm just going to read these to you guys. Try to remain positive. Your customers are feeding off your vibe and it shows through. If you're feeling frustrated, that's okay, but don't let it affect your business, especially when things are going wrong, such as website technicalities, order problems, etc. You set the tone. This is huge. And I see this a lot on Wednesdays, more so in the leaders group than in our team pages. There's always something wrong on Wednesday. And you guys probably don't know it yet, but it's the most stressful damn night of the week. Wednesday between 9 and midnight, the worst day ever. Because there's always something, right? And challenge packs, this website goes down, coaches are being placed on the wrong leg, we have to try to get a hold of coach relations, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the problem is, how we respond is how our customers are going to respond. If you are pissed off at coach relations or customer service because they sent the wrong Shakeology to your customer again, your customer is going to feed off of that, and their anger or their dissatisfaction is going to exacerbate. You could say something like, I'm really sorry. I understand that this is really, really frustrating, but I know that it's definitely not something that they're doing on purpose. It's a huge warehouse. Let's work together to get it fixed. Will it make your customer feel like everything is perfect? Probably not, but maybe they'll feel a little bit better. And doing things, whenever I've had situations like that, I've sent little $10 gift cards, just thank you for sticking it out with me. I know this was a problem. Hopefully we can get it right, whatever. It speaks a lot to how you run your business, and also that integrity again. You got to help your customers feel comfortable. And long term, that pays off a lot. I had a customer who got the wrong challenge pack 3 times in a row. I don't remember, Nicole, you might have been around. It was like a year ago. And there was just like, I think it was when Max 30 came out and every order was just wrong. And I don't know what was going on with the warehouse, but they were just, everything was wrong. And she was so pissed off. And I just had to try to calm her down because I wasn't going to lose this customer over this, you know, and I could have said things like, well, why are you yelling at me? Why are you being rude to me? I could have got defensive, but you know, what point does that serve? If what you're doing doesn't seem to be enough, then do more. Don't take that as a sign that you should quit or give up. How is that going to make the situation any better? So when I wrote this down, I was thinking of the long-term payout of doing more than what's expected of you. So what's expected of you on a daily basis is your power hour and your 3 vital behaviors, which should kind of go hand in hand. But if you're not getting the results that you want to see, you simply have to do more. If you want to be a star diamond, you need to message 10 people a day instead of 3, because 3 is the average. That's what everybody else is doing. So if you want more, do more. Don't be like, well, that's too much work. I'm going to quit and give up because I can't do it or it's not working out. No, you're just not putting in the effort that you need to get the results that you want. And sometimes that's a really hard pill for people to swallow, but it's just the truth. And then lastly, remember that this is supposed to be fun. If you've lost sight of the fun or you never saw it, take some time to reflect on that. It should not feel like a chore. If it does, you're doing it wrong or not as effectively as you could be. Yes, Beachbody is work. You know, and I say work, I hate using that term because then I see like people like my dad who work construction. I'm like, I don't know if this is really work. But it is for us, you know, and it takes a lot to deal with people. It takes a lot to constantly have to try to be positive. I get that. But this should be fun. It's not supposed to feel like your corporate job where you're just like dreading going to work every day or, you know, counting down the minutes until you go home. This is supposed to be fun. So if you're feeling like it's not, look at ways that you can incorporate more excitement and fun into your business. You know, can you run a challenge group that speaks more to who you are or your personality? Can you, you know, try to get more of your friends involved? Can you start actually acting like yourself and letting your personality shine through so that you're attracting more people who are just like you? All of those things could make it so much better for you, but it's up to you to allow it to happen. Okay, so I know that that was kind of all over the place and really random things, but these are all just kind of little notes that I feel add up to a lot. You know, and I know I've only been around for 2 years and there's coaches who have been coaches for 10 years. They probably have a lot better things to say, but I think all of these kind of speak to building that long-term success, and just not just with your customers, but also with yourself and kind of your mentality and how you handle things. Are you kidding me? Whatever. So I'm going to shut up now because then that'll give Marilyn 10 minutes and then make it fast, Marilyn.
Okay, I just wanted to say that you're conducting your business with integrity always did shine through. And when you say that it's oftentimes not about you and about the customer, what you didn't know, probably my response was a little bit strong when you first offered me the coaching opportunity, is because what you didn't know is that I was a coach at work. We were having like this biggest loser challenge and all that stuff. I've been a runner for a very long time. And they said, hey, you're fit. Can you help us, teach us? But anything that you give anybody for free, you know, they really honestly don't appreciate. And I honestly didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that that would work for me. And I had like this bitterness about coaching. And so when you offered it to me, I was like, no. And the way I met you was through Elizabeth, which is a friend of a friend. And she said that your page was a yoga page. So I was training for a marathon and I was looking for something in yoga. And then you told me you were PIO certified and all this other stuff. I did not know, I had no idea about Beachbody, although I had used Beachbody for many years. And I think that I was reading through our chat just to refresh my memory. And I was like, oh my God, Marilyn, just say yes. Just looking from here at this point, looking back, I said, I don't know why I was so stubborn. And oftentimes when it comes to the customer, that's what it is. It's about them and what's going on in their head. What's, you know, what your consistency and your ability to be so transparent and to show your results. That's what people care about. And that's what I cared about. every time I saw that you posted that you were so honest and that you did have integrity and that you were getting results and that you were constantly offering, what is coaching and all that other stuff. I kept thinking about it. I just wasn't ready. I was too scared. I guess because of past experiences and all that. So basically, staying consistent for the long haul, I am definitely a typical example of a difficult customer. So I am sorry, Francis. I didn't start PIO right away when I signed up for it, and then the Shakeology kept coming in and all that. I wasn't using it the way I was supposed to, and then eventually I canceled it because I got a running injury, and then it was just a mess. But anyways, your integrity and the way you carried yourself online really spoke to me, and it does show through. The customer can tell. I can sit back here and just, I look like the most skeptical person that there is. And I definitely don't trust anyone, but you did a really good job of building trust, and you did it through consistency. You did it through being very transparent, and you never gave up on me. And the follow-ups, the constant message like, okay, how are you doing, without wanting something from me. And that's how I knew that I wanted to stick with this. And then the coaching part came much later when I wasn't like as busy with school and everything else, and I got over myself. And the fact that you were always very kind. You always said thank you. You sent me little cards and all that. I said, this girl is legit. I definitely need to do this. And then what really spoke to me was when you were very transparent with your story about, how you paid off your credit cards and all that stuff. I had been there and done that. And I said, and this kid is doing it in no time. Because I mean, that was not, and I say kid because I'm much older than all of you. And that's another thing with customers is like, there shouldn't be that barrier of age. But in my head, I was like, I don't belong with this group because there's a bunch of 20-year-olds. What could I possibly have in common with them? And what did I have in common with them was fitness and the love of like wanting to be healthy, of exercise and all that. So basically you did a fantastic job of just staying consistent and being transparent and just not giving up on me. And I really appreciate that. And that's all. Okay.
Well, thank you. No, and I think from what I remember, if I remember our history clearly, I remember we met through Liz. So I didn't know Marilyn at all. Like I had no connection to her. We had never spoken. I really had no reason to care aside from wanting her to become a customer and ordering. Which I feel is something that we all experience at some point, right? We get these strangers and we're like, well, I don't know you. I have no connection to you. I don't really care about you. I just want your order. I want you to turn into a customer, and then we'll see what happens. But you have to learn to care about the people before they become your customer. And I remember we had been talking for a while about something. I don't remember what program it was or what I was suggesting, but then didn't your husband buy you a DVD or something?
Yeah. Yes, he ended up buying a program for both of us, which he never used, and it was T25. He never used it, and I hate it. So I said, I'm never doing T25, forget about that. And I love cardio, but it was just like, at that point, I just was not interested.
Right.
It wasn't the program that I really wanted. And he just went ahead and bought it, and then, kind of.
There you go. Yeah.
I could buy it through you, so.
And from the coaching standpoint, at that point, because I'm sure we've all dealt with something similar to that, if not that, oh, my best friend gave me her program or my husband bought it. I could have been pissed. I could have been like, I've been talking to her, and then now all of a sudden, all this effort I put in is going to turn into nothing. And I could have given up or walked away or, been rude to her, whatever it was, not let her into the challenge groups, because I did still put you in the groups, even though I know you were super busy at that time. So I don't think you were really active. But I didn't.
I was intimidated. I was busy, but I loved working out. I was intimidated by everyone posting their food and everything else. I was like, oh my gosh, they're like more neurotic than I am.
And it can be a lot. I understand.
Yeah.
But and I think that says a lot, because you look at her now. Here, if I would have gotten upset about that almost a year and a half ago or however long it was, and let it all go and not followed up with her, because I think I even remember like following up and saying, how's T25 going? You know, and I didn't make any money from that sale. But eventually she's like, well, I want to try that Shakeology. So there she was trying it. And you did stay on Shakeology for a while.
For a long time. Until my injury. I got a running injury. I tore my meniscus bilaterally on both sides, training for a marathon. And then at that point, you were like making suggestions for PIO. That's when PIO came in.
Right.
And I was just like, I would cry through the whole workout because I was in so much pain. And it took them a year to diagnose what I had. And my knee kept blowing up and I kept blowing up. I gained 30 pounds. Right. And that's, I think, when was the turning point where I don't know, I just saw you as a friend. I saw you as somebody kind, even though I really didn't know you. And because you didn't shut me down, because I didn't realize what was happening. You know, I don't know how you made your commission or anything like that, that my husband bought the T25 and all that stuff. So you were just very kind to me. And you were just very supportive. And then I ordered a bunch of stuff after that.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, that speaks volumes. You know, a lot of times we get so caught up, again, in the instant gratification and we want it all now. And you can't think about your business in that sense. I know it can be really frustrating. And I mean, I wasn't mad, but I remember just being like, oh, you know, like, because sometimes I just want to be like, here's how I get paid. Please respect that, you know, because that's how I feel in the restaurant industry too. I'm like, I get paid off of tips, you know, like, don't be an asshole. But you can't be that way. The same way you can't say that to your table is exactly why I can't go to my customers and be like, you didn't purchase from me. Like, this is how I make my money. You can't do that, guys. And I think that long term, if you want to have any success in this business, you always constantly have to be thinking about your customers and what you can do to bring value to them and to help them. This is about to cut off on us. So, hopefully this has brought something for you guys. If not, hopefully it'll at least make you guys think about how you're treating your customers and what you can do to, you know, reach out or to whatever, you know, make them feel better, more comfortable. Even old ones you haven't spoken to in a long time. Sometimes it's nice to just follow up and be like, hey, I miss you. How are you? Don't even talk about Beachbody. That's fine. You know, like, search their page. How's your kids? Whatever, you know. Sometimes that's all people need to make the difference. If you guys have questions, just post them in the group. I'll answer them in there. This thing's about to cut off, and I'm not starting it over again because that's stupid. But thank you for getting on, Marilyn, and talking to us. And thank you guys who got on. We'll see you all later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.